Hello and welcome back to Chiefsman's Corner Live. This is the first one of 2024. I'll be available via Discord voice chat. If you want to join the show, you can let me know via direct message in Discord, and we'll get you on the show if you want to. I'm your host, Coach Winuvas, one of the leadership team here in WFL, and the coach of the Los Angeles Rams. I promise this will be the last time you hear a different team this cycle. This show will dive into some playoff stuff, talk draft a little bit. The main chunk of the show, however, will be devoted to some changes for Season 8 that will affect our offseason and waiver claims going forward. So we'll see how folks feel about the new waiver system we're going to be introducing in some form and fashion tonight. And to finish us off, we're going to talk about some Ask the Chief questions. If anyone is tuned in live, thanks for tuning in. You can comment in YouTube chat or in Discord, and I will try to respond to any comments, especially in YouTube. If you're watching this at any time, though, thank you for watching. Any and all support is appreciated. Without you guys, the WFL doesn't exist. The first thing to talk about, as always, is the WFL's incentive plan. With the offseason in our near future, please make sure that you fill out the incentive form to get credit for everything you've done for WFL this season. The incentive plan allows you to get some perks that aren't available for every member simply by doing some extracurricular activities that involve WFL. Anything from Twitter to articles on the Neon Sports site to commenting or participating in the show, even chatting in Discord can earn you experience points. Anything that makes the WFL a more immersive experience and increases its presence in the MAD community can earn you some sort of credit. The link to the incentive plan and the form is available using the command /incentive plan in Discord. If you want just the form, it's /incentive form. Both of those are all one word. Incentive plan and incentive form are all one word / in front in Discord, and any channel will get you those forms and plans respectively. The next thing to talk about is our form Ask the Chief. This is the form you can use between episodes during the week to submit any questions for me, and I'll answer them during the show, giving you credit for the question. It's an easy way to build up incentive points and provide extra content for the podcast. You can use command /askthechief to pull up the form in Discord. That is all one word, /askthechief. With the offseason, as stated earlier, on the horizon, please make sure to be plugged in during the offseason process. The WFL moves fast and hard through that offseason process, and we don't want your team left in the dust as far as free agency or signings go. If you know you're going to be you're unable to be around, please set yourself to auto or communicate with leadership so we can make sure your team is taken care of for you while you are away. With the housekeeping out of the way, let's get this show rolling. You can tell it's a little bit rough around the edges going into 2024. And we're going to start with playoff talk as I bring it up and get it big. But we're going to start right here at the top. We're in the divisional round right now, so my predictions will be a little bit easier because I won't be able to screw up at the wild card round level. I'll just screw up divisional round. So we have Falcons, Giants, we have Jags, Chargers, we have Broncos, Jets, and we have Eagles, Vikings. So we have a lot of good quality teams in here. So we'll start from left to right, and we'll do a little bit of quick predictions. Falcons, Giants. I watched the game between the Commanders and Falcons, and the Falcons struggled to put some offense together against a pretty stout Commanders defense. I think it'll be much the same as he encounters another NFC East foe in the Giants and Coach Cly. I love Studley, and I think he's got a bright future in the Falcons, and as far as being at the top of WFL and the NFC. But I don't think he wins in New York against the Giants. Give me Coach Cly and the G-men in that one. Jags, Chargers. I just watched the Jags get lucky, but put away a very, very tough foe in the Tennessee Titans, who went 13-4 this season. They put away the 3 seed. Now they go visit the 1 seed in the Los Angeles Chargers. And you know what? I've seen Coach Cheskei in the playoffs. I know he's a playoff performer. I know he's good with the Jaguars. So the Chargers may not like this, but give me the upset here. I think the Jaguars continue the Cinderella story they couldn't do in the NFL by making the playoffs in the NFL. I think they beat the Chargers here at SoFi Stadium and move on to the championship round, where they will face the winner of the Broncos-Jets matchup. Broncos and Coach Crazy Fast have had a great season. So has D. Perot and the Jets. D. Perot is a proven playoff performer. He beat the Bills 45-42 in a shootout. He can win shootouts. He can win defensive slugfests. The Broncos win their wild card game. I believe it was 50-28 was the final against the Bengals. The Bengals have struggled to play defense all year. They were pretty much offense. And whenever you get 7 interceptions in a game, from what I'm told, it's easy to play defense there or score points. I don't think he's going to get 7 interceptions from D. Perot and Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. So I think the Broncos will be eliminated here by the Jets. I don't think it's going to be close either. So Broncos, a little bulletin board material you can tack up on your wall there. I think the Jets win this one going away by at least 10 points. And then finally you have Eagles-Vikings. My prediction for last year was the Vikings were going to make the WFL Bowl. They got eliminated, I believe, in the divisional round or the wild card round. So not a great prediction for me. So do I go back with the Vikings in high-powered offense, or do I go with the league leading in interceptions, Julian Blackmon, free safety for the Eagles, and that Eagles defense? And I am of the mindset that while offense is nice and pretty and flashy and can work in some fashion, I think when you run into a top-tier defense, I think that's where the buck stops. The Philadelphia Eagles, even though they were the 5 seed, went in as a 13-4 record. They were 1 win behind the Vikings. If only not for the Giants, that they would be the 2 seed and facing off against that Falcons team. But unfortunately, they did not get the East. They fell a game short. This is not a 5 seed, typical 5 seed that the Vikings are facing. And I think the Vikings get upset here. I think Eagles win. I don't think it's going to be a long shot affair. I think it's going to be close, but I think the Eagles eke one out, and that puts NFC matchup for the NFC. It's going to put together the Giants and Eagles. Give me. I'm gonna take the Eagles. I'm gonna ride the Eagle coattails. I think the Eagles can beat Coach Cly. I think they make the WFL Bowl as the NFC participant, and I think in the AFC I've got Jags Jets. I think if that ends up being our AFC final, I think that's a phenomenal game. But I will take the Jets and the talent on defense over the Jags in an upset, or not maybe an upset, but just a tough fought matchup, because I think Coach Cheskey and the Jags, I think he's got the edge as far as coaching, but I think the Jets have the edge as far as roster talent. So I will take the Jets. So give me Jets-Eagles in the Super Bowl. And who wins WFL Bowl 7? My prediction, I'm going to come back on camera for this one. My prediction for WFL Bowl 7 between the Jets and Eagles, which may or may not happen. You know what? I think Aaron Rodgers retires out on top. I think the Jets win. I think Aaron Rodgers retires, and he retires a champion with the New York Jets. I think that's the way WFL Bowl 7 will go. So give me the Jets in my scenario that I have predicted. Again, take this with a grain of salt. Last year, I think I predicted Bills and Vikings, and by the divisional round, both those teams were out. So what do I know, right? What do I know? So now we're going to flip sides a little bit, and we're going to go, and I'm going to bring up the draft board here in just a second, and it's going to be a whole bunch of gibberish. Let me see if I can zoom it in a little bit to make it a little easier to read. So I have the number 1 pick in the draft, and I'll be honest, I have this Rams team is rough. This Rams team is rough. I really feel like I need about 70 picks, and I have 7. So the only good thing is that I have an extra 6th round pick and no 7th. Yay! But I have the first pick in every round, which is okay, but I really need more picks. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone's got the stones or the ammunition, really, to come and get pick number 1. So I'm probably going to be stuck making it. So I guess I'm on the clock. If I'm on the clock, and of course I am the Rams, I'm probably going to be leaning offensive line. We do need tackles. Our interior is okay. It's nothing to write home about, but it's at least stable and signed long term for cheap. We really need some offensive line as far as tackles. So probably best guess here is that I would probably go offensive line if everything stays the same as it is right now. I could use quarterback, though, because I'm looking to move off of Greg Hoffman, even though he's a good rated rookie. Whenever I had the Rams before we started, I was not looking to carry him over. The guy that ended up owning the Rams carried him over. I would have carried over an edge rusher. But that's neither here nor there. That's done. What's done is done. So basically at this point, I feel like I need something on offense. I would probably look to get a mobile quarterback. If I pick number 1 overall, going mobile quarterback, but I could go quarterback. I could go offensive line. I really could go anywhere except maybe linebacker. I don't see a linebacker that's value at that top end of the board, or corner. Really need corner and secondary help, but I don't see anything that would be value for the number 1 pick overall. But I think that's where my head is as far as the first pick in the draft. Now, Miami at 2 is a different story. Miami has 3 first-round picks. I know they have number 2, and I want to say they have, I believe, 20 and maybe in the teens. I think they have 20 as last I looked, but it might be 20s and lower 20s. But they still have 3 first-round picks to do some damage with. And I know Kobe's looking for a quarterback. I don't know if he takes a quarterback at 2, but he's looking to improve that team drastically. And with his talent skill set, plus getting a quarterback that fits the way he wants to play, that makes the Dolphins instantly dangerous in the AFC. They're already dangerous, in my opinion, with Kobe. I know he had a rough year. Obviously, he's picking 2nd overall. But he is dangerous if he gets good talent. And he's got 3 first-round picks. That's usually a way to get good talent real quick, is to get first-round picks. And he's got 3 of them. So I don't think he needs to move up any, but he could if he wanted to move up into the top 10. Maybe he packages those other 2 first-round picks and something else to move into the top 10, get 2 picks in the top 10. I don't know where his head's at, but I think really right now I know he's looking for a quarterback to replace Conrad Clemens, who is not the answer in Miami. He was for the previous owner, but not for Kobe. So Kobe's moving on from him, but the problem's going to be who does he take at this point? And, depending on how his play style is, Aiden Bain is the current highest rated quarterback on the Buckman's Big Board with a 99 BASQ. He's rated at 84.62% as far as towards the quality prospect. So essentially for quarterbacks, just to kind of quickly explain this, the maximum BASQs adding 2 values together is 117. So essentially Aiden Bain at 99 comes real close to that. So he is short of Artie Hill, I believe. Artie Hill had a 101 BASQ last season, and he ends up winning Rookie of the Year in the AFC. So maybe Aiden Bain becomes another AFC Rookie of the Year candidate for Kobe and the Miami Dolphins. Not sure how the rest of the league shakes out as far as the picks in the first round. I pretty much just track myself, and then after that I kind of just lose track. I believe the Texans, through the Deshaun Watson trade, have Cleveland's first-round pick, so they're going to be picking high. So the Texans might look at offensive line, wide receiver help, potentially some corner. Hard to tell, really. I haven't looked at any other rosters. I've kind of just got thrown this Rams roster, or chose this Rams roster near the end, so I've kind of been in panic mode as far as that goes, and trying to get this team ready for season 8. But the draft talk is kind of small right now. I don't really want to focus on it too much, so I'll just talk about the top 3 and my thought process around it. The main thing I want to talk about and bring to your attention is some new rules around season 8. Some of them are things we're officially putting in the rule book, but most of these are new things that we implemented either last year that we're going to be implementing into this offseason. So it's after the offseason was already done last year. And some of it is new for season 8. But to bring it up here, just to kind of go, and I'm going to try and be brief about it because I don't want to eat up too much time for you guys tonight. First things first, slight change in how we do things, which I'm going to have to also add. So let me see. All signing. Oh, shoot. I'm in underline mode. I don't want to be underlining, but I do want to be highlighted. That's what I get for editing live. So, all re-signs must be posted in WFL signings. That's also something new. Well, before, our rules were you only had to post for 50% signings. That was the rule. Most people didn't. They posted every signing, which is fine. We just kind of focused on the 50%. But I will state for the record now, all re-signs have to be posted in WFL signings. And the more important portion, and I want to come back on camera for this, and I'm going to bring it back so you can see it again. All re-signs, no matter who you sign, anytime you're in the re-sign screen, start a stream, start a recording. Record every time you are trying to sign a player. Everything that's signing must be streamed. And the reason for that is real simple. It's because of our contract rules. As I bring it back up, I'm going to zoom in real quick on it. Maximum length. Let me see here. Make sure I didn't miss anything in Discord chat. Maximum length, use the default contracts in game. That means that you're using the, very team-friendly, neutral, player-friendly, very player-friendly options. That's what default contracts means. Or if you do a custom contract, the maximum is 5 years. We don't take your word for it, guys. We don't take your word for it. Oop, got that up. We don't take your word for it, okay? This is not an honor system thing. You are required to record every re-sign. And the reason's real simple. I can custom contract a 7-year deal and say it was a player-friendly contract. Do I have proof? No, you can trust me. No, we don't trust anybody, okay? DTA, don't trust anybody. So every re-sign starting with Season 8 must be streamed. If you fail to stream a re-sign and we see a re-sign that we can't find a video for, this is the process starting with Season 8. Number 1, the contract will be edited down to 1 year and you will be forced to cut the player into free agency. You will eat a portion of the cap. You will not eat the full portion. We haven't discussed that part yet. But be aware that starting this Season 8, if you re-sign and don't stream, you're cutting the player. We're tired of messing around with this. This system has been in place now for 2 seasons, and we still have guys that fail to stream their re-signs. This is now the ultimate punishment. You're going to take a cap penalty of some kind. That's your first consequence. You're going to cut the player into free agency. That's your big second consequence. Don't mess this up. Okay? We are tired of playing around with it, guys. This is no BS time. Okay? We're not putting up with it anymore. You stream it or record it. You can record and upload. I know there are some folks that have some issues as far as streaming while live. That's fine. As long as you record it and upload it to where we can see the re-sign, you're good. But you have to do it for every re-sign, not just the 50% list. Every re-sign has to be on there. Has to be streamed, has to be recorded. Something has to be seen. And I know with YouTube lately, we've had some issues where when you start a stream, you think it's working and it's not. Make sure it's working. Because we're not taking any guff from anybody. If it's messed up, we're editing the player. You're cutting the player. If you refuse to cut the player, we'll boot you, cut the player, and we'll let you come back in. But that's the consequences now. We're not taking anybody's word for anything on these contracts, guys. You have to do it by the book. Okay? Now, moving on. Let me scroll down and find a couple of other things. Let me shrink this down a little bit so it's a little easier to go through. A couple of things, we're adding a couple of little tags as far as some of the new terminology like slot wide receiver, slot cornerback. Some of this is added as far as playing in the depth chart. We're adding the tight end to be able to play slot wide receiver. On the wide receiver depth chart, though, they still can't be higher than 4th, but in slot wide receiver, they can be 1st in the depth chart. The rules for sub linebacker don't change. If it's in green, it changes. Okay, guys? Okay, this is new, and I want to boost this up. This is something we have implemented after last year. Let me make sure it's on screen. Okay, cool. So, all-season free agency. Now, this is only for the 3 stages in free agency that we deal with. This is not for re-signs. This is not for signings in season where we can't affect a bonus. This is strictly for those 3 stages in free agency where you make bids, you compete with other teams, and you have to win the player. If you offer a 1-year deal to a player, the bonus that you offer must be 50% of the salary offered. What that means, if you're offering, if the player wants $2 million in salary, you have to offer $1 million in bonus, even if they don't ask for it. If they ask for more and you offer more, fine. The minimum is 50% for a 1-year contract. And the reason for this is to make these players valuable to where you don't cut them just to make cap space or just on a whim, which is something else we'll talk about shortly. Next thing, if you're doing a custom contract, the bonus offered must be 25% of the salary offered. So going back to the previous number, if you offer $2 million in base salary, you have to offer $500,000 because that's 25% in bonuses. It's simple math. You have calculators on your phones, you have calculators on your computers, laptops, desktops, whatever you're using, you have calculator access. Do some simple math. If you don't know how, ask. We'll help. But it's 25% of the total salary has to be offered in bonus unless, there is an exception, unless the player is below 70 overall. They have to be 69 or less overall. If they are of that level, then you do not have to offer a bonus for anything, whether it's a 1 year, whether it's a multi-year. You don't have to offer a bonus if it's 69 or less overall. That's the only exception. If it's 70 or better, you have to offer either a 25% bonus if it's a multi-year deal, or a 50% bonus if it's a 1-year deal. And by the way, those of you that might be fretting, going, well, what about the regular in-game contracts like player-friendly, very player-friendly, and all that stuff? Well, that doesn't take effect during free agency, one. And number two, most of the time when you offer these contracts, if you take what the base player is offering, they ask for a bonus that's well above that 25 or 50% mark. So bear that in mind, okay? If you offer a contract that they want and you don't edit it, in most cases, you're going to be compliant. It's the folks that play around with the numbers in the cap. That's the folks we're trying to limit here, because some contracts last year were, and I'm going to put it bluntly, bullshit. That's why these rules came into place. We had guys that were signing 85 overall players for like $2 and $3 million with no bonus. So that way, if they found a better player, or if they decided they didn't want that player anymore, they could just cut it and there's no penalty. No, we're not playing that. If you sign a guy in free agency, it should count as far as cap penalties if you have to cut him or trade him. So that's the rules now going into season 8 offseason. So if you make those free agency contract offers, make sure those bonuses are of a standard that fits our new rule set. Again, most defaults are fine. It's when you play around with the contracts, that's when we're going to have issues. So if you're playing around with the contracts to kind of finagle the numbers, to either get the guy to want to sign with you or not, make sure those bonuses are equal as far as numbers, because we're going to go in and check, and if it's low, if it's not equal, if it's not right, we're going to make you cut the player. So be aware of that, guys. Okay, again, if you have questions, please ask. Okay, that's what we're here for. Going again, here's the big one. One of the big ones. In-season free agency waiver wire. We are making a drastic change to our waiver wire process. Some things are good, some things not so good. We've done some, I say we, our free agency guru guys put together some numbers, and essentially we have found that most teams on average across the league make no more than 3 to 4 claims a year on players. Now, obviously, there are some exceptions. Hi, I'm the exception. I'll wave the other hand so you can see it, because I made like 13 claims my first week as the Rams. Yeah, I realized that was excessive, but that team was bad. Anyway, we're making some changes around the waiver wire and how it works. The first thing that may ruffle some feathers is that every team has 3 waiver claims they can use in an entire season. 3. That's it. 3. So 3 players of 68, or better overall that you can claim an entire season. That includes preseason, by the way. So bear that in mind. Now, you can get more waiver claims. You can get up to 3 more by simply being a incentive tier member. If you are at the pro level, you get an extra claim, so that puts you to 4. If you are at the all-pro level, you get 2, so that puts you to 5. And if you're at the all-Madden tier, you get 3, which puts you to 6. 6 for the entire year on 68 plus overall players. If you steal a practice squad player, that counts as half a claim. So be aware that if you get to if you're all Madden, you get to 5.5, the only player you'll be able to claim is a practice squad player. So be aware of that. And as I bring this back up, denied claims do not count against this limit. So in other words, if you do not hit a claim, that doesn't count against you. You get it back. You only lose claims if you claim a player. That kind of makes sense, I hope. One other big change we are making, or we are almost done making, we'll have it ready for the regular season, is that waiver claims will now go in win-loss order live, which means that as the season progresses, those teams that are flagging in the standings will always have higher claim than teams that are lower in the standings. And we didn't do that in the past because, honestly, until fairly recently with the Neon Sports and figuring out Neon Sports interface, it was too much for one person to do and keep up with. I'm not going to even beat around the bush. However, some of our guys that are Excel spreadsheet gurus, and the ideas guy, that's me, I'm the ideas guy, we work together to get some information pulled from Neon Sports that we can pull on a weekly basis. So basically, we're going to pull on a weekly basis win-loss records, and essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have it tiered in such a fashion that the teams that are performing poorly in the standings will always have claim priority over teams doing better in the standings if they both make a waiver claim. Okay, so that's to be more in line with real-life NFL, because in real-life NFL, they do use real-life win-loss standings from week to week to determine waiver claim when a player is cut. Okay, so we're implementing that, granted, a little bit late, but we're going for more realism. And the main reason for this whole change, as far as 3 waiver claims maximum, or 3 waiver claims per team, up to 6 if you're incentivized, the main reason for that is to enforce depth. Guys, you have to build a team of 53. I know some of us are cap strapped. That's a big problem. I know some of us are just kind of top heavy, and that can be a problem. In real life, if you lose a top end player, you should hurt to replace that player. That's just a fact of the NFL. Do you think guys like somebody posted in chat that 9 quarterbacks made it through the entire season? If any of us lost our starting quarterback, we're going to be probably toast because our backups in most cases are usually well below par. We're going to have to work to fix that. We're going to have to play this like real life GMs. It's to make us work on depth, to use our own practice squads, to use... Now, bear in mind, that waiver wire rule does not apply to players 67 or less overall. So you can always go and pick up these lower tier guys off the waiver wire because they don't require a claim. So you can always play around with lower tier guys to fill in your depth. We're not taking that away. We are taking away the ability for guys, like for example, when our last Bucks owner, which I'm sorry if the new Bucks owner wasn't aware of this, I think I told him, when the last Bucks owner cut Tua Tagovailoa. By the way, that's coming up in a second. A team claimed him that didn't need him, but they got him because they wanted depth. Didn't need him, had a franchise quarterback already. So they had 2 franchise quarterbacks on the roster. I don't want that to happen. I think that's ridiculous, and I told the owner as much, and he agreed, to be fair. But that's something we don't want happening going forward. So make sure you're using your depth, and then this will lay it nicely with that Tua story into the last thing, which is now... which I need to clear off that because this is... Well, actually, this is still off-season. Sorry, I got sidetracked a little bit. In-season maximum overall cut limit. During the season, I want to emphasize during the season, the off-season, off-limits. This is not a rule for the off-season. Once we get into the season, I'm going to bring it back. You will no longer be able to cut a player that is 80 or higher overall unless leadership okays it. Okay, you have to justify the reason you're cutting a player in season that is 80 or higher overall. And it doesn't have to be a complicated reason. I need cap relief to sign depth. I'm not interested in keeping this player long term. I don't want him on my roster anymore. I mean, that's not going to cut it. You have to give some type of valid reason. Cap relief is going to be a key thing. If you're cutting a guy for cap relief, that's all you got to say. Hey, I want to cut this guy. He's 84 overall or 83 overall or whatever, and I need the cap space. You won't have a problem. But this is to prevent guys from having a frustrating bad game with a player and then cutting that player, and now the new owner has to suffer the consequences of not having that good player because of one bad game by the previous owner, Tua Tagovailoa. Okay? So, for that reason, we're implementing that starting in Season 8. Again, this does not affect off-season. Cut whatever you want during the off-season. But once we get to Week 1, any player 80-plus overall, if you go to cut him, you won't be able to. So you will have to okay it with us, and then we will turn it on so that way you can cut the player, and then we can move on with life. Also, fair warning, we're probably not going to do a whole lot of adjustments from the roster size from 53 once we get the season rolling. We will probably drop it to like 52 or 51 for the first 8 weeks when the trade deadline happens. So that way, if you're trading players for picks, you don't get penalized for it and don't get locked out of it. But once the trade deadline hits in Season 8, the roster size goes to 53, and the only way you're going to be able to cut players is to sign above 53 and then cut back down to 53. And if you can't do that for cap reasons, tough. This season, we kind of made it a little bit easier. We're going to put the foot down in Season 8 as far as that goes. You must be at 53, okay? If you can't be at 53, figure out a way to get to 53. I don't care if you sign nothing but practice squad fodder. Get to 53. That's going to be kind of the mantra here. We want you to emphasize getting depth, and yeah, that means your team may suffer as far as overalls go, as far as play goes. Rebuilding teams do this all the time, guys. I'm pretty sure Carolina Panthers at 2-15 are real happy about all the performances they've had and all the great players they have, right? No, they're terrible. They don't have anybody. This is the reality. We're trying to mimic the NFL here with our roster, the construction, and waiver wires being more restricted makes it more strategic. So that way, if you go for a guy, you better be darn sure you want that guy. Because you are burning one of your precious waiver claims to get him. So there you go. That's the new things for Season 8. Now we're going to move on to Ask the Chief so I can get this show wound up and get it done. So let's get to Ask the Chief. Let's start at the top. What team from Waffles, what team in the NFL has the most WFL owners as fans? Dallas Cowboys. Next. Chilkey asks, are we allowed to relocate our team? Not in WFL. We talked about this at the start of the cycle because when I had Las Vegas, the blip I had Las Vegas, I actually asked leadership if I can move them to Oakland because I wanted them to be the Oakland Raiders. There are certain teams that leadership would be open to allowing a move. Teams that have been in previous areas before. So for example, the Rams to St. Louis. And I'm not looking to move the Rams to St. Louis. Just putting that out there. But the Rams to St. Louis. The Chargers to San Diego. The Raiders. I was open to the Raiders moving back to Oakland. There was one other team that I'm forgetting, and it's going to bug the stew out of me. But there was one other team we discussed whenever I had the discussion about moving to Oakland, but we ultimately said no because we didn't want to disturb the landscape of things. And we really don't want teams like, for example, the Pittsburgh Steelers, since that's your team chill right now. We don't want the Pittsburgh Steelers becoming the Dublin Shamrocks. Okay, we want to keep the NFL as much the NFL here in WFL as possible. So the only moves we would consider would be moves that have been made in the past and keeping the team name. I know the other one now. Tennessee Titans moving back and becoming the Houston Oilers. That's the other team we talked about that we would be open to doing, but ultimately that's limited, very limited, and it would take a lot of banter among leadership to even allow those moves because we don't want to disturb the way the NFL is structured right now. We don't want owners moving teams, especially like changing logos and stuff, and that can throw up a whole new bag of worms. If we get to a place in our server where we have some stability amongst our leagues, and we have filled leagues and robust and growing leagues, then maybe we do a league where we allow every owner, if they're dependable enough, to move their team to another place, change the name, whatever. But as it stands right now, that's not going to happen. Not in WFL. I don't want to say it won't ever happen in a league under this umbrella, but in WFL, unless it's a real specific case, and even then we'd still talk about it and kind of mull it over, and depending on who it is, we may or may not allow it anyway. But those are the ones that we would allow in a very limited scope. So hopefully that answers your question. That's why we don't allow relocation. We don't want a big change to what the status quo is. So that is Chill's answer. Any players? Okay, Waffles has been blowing me up today. Waffles, any players on the Rams you're excited to work with? This is going to be real easy. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. That's it. That's the list. Anybody else can go fly a kite. I don't need them here. So that's pretty much all I got. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. Those are the guys I'm most interested in working with. Aaron Donald's going to be a force in the middle. I moved him to defensive tackle. Cooper Kupp, it can be a slot wide receiver. I plan on fixing them if they regress. I'm hoping Aaron Donald doesn't retire. I'm praying to the gods he doesn't retire. He's 33. Those are the two players I'm most interested with. Everybody else can kick rocks. I don't care. Get them out of here. I'll give up everybody for picks. If there's anybody on that roster that isn't named Aaron Donald or Cooper Kupp, I'm willing to at least discuss it. So I may not move some of them, but I'm willing to at least talk. So bear that in mind. There's an advertisement for my team. So that's going forward. All right, so playoff predictions I already did. Matchups that particularly excite me, though, I will say Broncos-Jets looks good. Also Falcons-Giants, low-key. Studley's really good. He just is running into buzzsaws. I don't think he'll beat the Giants, but that I think will be a low-key good game. And if he manages to pull off a Giants victory, I think Studley's scary. So that's one that interests me on the NFC side. On the AFC side, Jets, Broncos. Most impactful free agent signing. Now, this is one I did a little bit of research on. Very little. I'm going to pull up three guys. The first guy, Dak Prescott. I would say he made a difference. He was signed by, obviously, the Commanders in free agency. The Commanders got busted in the wild card round, but to be fair, they were in the WFL Bowl last year, right? Yeah. So, did he help? No, not really. I mean, he didn't do as good as he did last year, but he's a big signing that did well and got him back to the playoffs, just not over the hump. Then I have Keenan Allen. This one's a low-key one. Only signed to a one-year deal. He was signed post-free agency, so he was signed as a waiver claim, so I don't know if that really qualifies, but technically it's a free agent signing. Dude had a monster year. He got some votes for Offensive Player of the Year in the AFC. Was a top 10 receiver, if I'm not mistaken, so still getting it done at, 32? Is he 32? Yeah, 32 years old, still getting it done. Still a monster. So, and then this one, I'm not sure if he's a free agent or if it was a trade. I'm going to bring him up, and if it was a trade, just let me know. But Julian Blackmon. Dude had 12 picks. I didn't know that. I was like, holy crap. Where was I? Did I fall asleep? I haven't been paying attention to stats. Julian Blackmon has 12 interceptions. I'm assuming those are user interceptions. Dude, don't throw it near Julian Blackmon. He will catch it, and he will take it back to the house. He had 3 pick sixes, I believe. That's ridiculous. But yeah, Julian Blackmon. Free agent signing? I'm thinking he was. He's on 2 of 2 contract. I don't know if he was a trade. I know Julian Blackmon originally was a Colts. I meant to research this online, but I ran out, or on Madden, but I ran out of time. So those are 3 guys I'd say. I wouldn't say Dak as much, but Keenan Allen definitely, even though the Texans didn't make the playoffs, he was a monster. And Julian Blackmon is probably the reason that the Eagles are in the playoffs and doing as well as they are at 13-4. Because 12 interceptions is 12 interceptions. My God. So, let's see. That's impactful free agent. In your opinion, this is one I had to research right at the gut. Could the upcoming class produce one of the best rookie wide receiver classes we've ever seen? And at first I was like, I don't think so. But then I looked, and I'm like, holy crap. This class isn't... I don't think there's a couple of studs in Hargrove and Florence, but this class, if you look at the BASQs, this class is deep. You got Will Moore at 99. You've got Justin Raymond at 93. You got Jalen Chambers at 92. You've got Derek Boone 94. Tyler Bonner 93. You've got Trey Diggs 87. That's still good. DeMario Christian 93. Look at all the round 1, 2. Now, granted, projections are nothing. That's Madden projections. We can scroll down here. Look at this guy on day 3. He's got an 83 BASQ. Is it great? Not really, but I mean, still, that's a good BASQ. I try to focus more on the BASQ percentage, and you've got 2 guys that are just breaking 80, which means they're going to be probably elite level prospects. You got a guy here at 78.57 and Will Moore. That's going to be a top tier player. You got a couple of guys down here like Deion Elam, who's 73%. That's pretty solid as well. As I rotate down, I don't think there's any more that are super high. But I will say, athletically speaking, I think this is the best wide receiver class we're going to see. Skill-wise, that's still up for debate. But definitely it's deep. I did not realize how deep it was until I dug into it a little bit to answer that question. I don't know if it's going to be the best, but it probably will be the deepest. So if you need a wide receiver, this is your draft. I don't know if you're going to get speed, because a lot of these guys are physical guys, but man, howdy, they are some kind of good. And then we got late bloomers right as I started the show, actually, I believe in some of these cases. Are there plans to modify sliders going into the new season? Man, we get this question every time. Every time we get close. At this point, no. We discussed it briefly in leadership. We like where the numbers are. The only thing that might happen, and this is purely hypothetical, I've not talked about it with leadership, maybe dropping interception sliders as far as catching down a little bit to drop more passes. But even then, we kind of want mistakes to matter. A lot of these interceptions we're seeing are user error. Truthfully, I mean, you throw it at a defensive player and then they catch it, and you're mad because they caught it. No, that's not the way it works. Don't throw it at the defensive player. There's a thought, but and I should probably learn that. Anyway, I don't see it. Running is in a good place, I think. Passing's in a good place, I think. I haven't seen anything wonky. I think pass rush is in a solid place. Yes, sacks are down Madden-related wise, but they're on par with real-life NFL sacks, so I'm happy with that. I think guys are just getting the ball out quicker on the sack front, so I think that's part of it, which could explain interceptions being high. So I think right now we're in a good place sliders-wise. I don't see a reason to really change it, and if somebody wants to bring it to my attention and thinks and can put forth a good case, I'll gladly bring it to leadership. But right now, I don't see a reason to rock the boat as far as the gameplay sliders go. I think we're in a good place, which is rare to say in Madden, that we're in a good place. And lastly, are we allowed to relocate our team? Chill with the question on that, dude. That's the 3rd time you've asked it. You asked it on 12/11 before my last show. I didn't get to it. I was going to get to it tonight, but then I saw it once and twice more. So, yeah, I've already talked about the relocation. So hopefully you'll watch this and catch that. But yeah, relocation, that's a touchy topic, maybe for another league and another time. So with that though, it's time to go ahead and end this puppy. I've gone way too long, way longer than normal. Sorry, a little bit of a rant as far as those new rules and stuff. But I will say, guys, thank you for tuning in, whether you're live tuning in or whether you're tuning into the recording. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay, Chilkey. I understand you want these questions, buddy. I understand. Hopefully you caught the explanation. Thanks you for tuning in again, whether you're live, like I see Patriots and Steelers are on here, so Chilkey and Austin are on here. Whether you're live or with the recording, you're watching this, thank you. I appreciate it. WFL appreciates it. We hope you're entertained by the show. Let us know by throwing us a like, a subscribe, leaving any comments, any feedback, good or bad, is always appreciated. Until next week, folks, the corner is closed.